Hey, what is up, guys? It's Brendan here, and today we're going to be taking a look at Clover versus Square. Which is the better solution for you in your small business when you're taking a look at the point of sale hardware, whether it be for a small business like a restaurant, a retail store, or really no matter what you plan to do. If you're looking for point of sale systems and hardware, that's what we're going to be comparing here in today's video. Again, comparing two different companies, two of the most popular companies to choose from, Clover and Square. Now, there is a ton of information out there online comparing each of these companies. Of course, we're going to be diving into the specifics, taking a look at the pros and cons pricing, and really which platform might be best for you when it comes to, again, you and your small business. Now, before we dive into things, of course, I do want to mention if you want to check out either of the companies mentioned here in today's video, there will be links linked down below in the description box. Again, top of the description box if you are interested in getting signed up with either of these companies, of course, some of which are affiliate links, which is a great way to help out and support the channel. Without ado, let's go ahead and dive into the comparison of, again, Clover versus Square. So to take a brief overview of Clover and Square are both point of sale hardware providers that allow you to process payments in your small business, again, whether it be a retail store, restaurant, or no matter what type of business that you sell. They do have custom solutions depending on the type of business that you operate. So primarily the main solutions is whether you're a restaurant or a retail store. Again, whether you need to have servers and point of sale systems that are on the go that you can take around to tables, or if you need custom solutions, again, no matter what type of store that you operate. Both of them do have solutions for, again, tracking inventory, managing staff, doing restaurant management as well. Really, Clover and Square do offer solutions for both different business types. Again, whether it be food and beverage as well as retail, those are the two main categories that really Clover and Square do both operate in. Clover is a bit different from Square. We'll get into some of the similarities and differences as well. But in general, Clover is more catered to those retail and restaurants. Those are the two main ones that they really cater to, whereas Square sort of caters a bit wider, bit broader of an audience in terms of who they can solve and provide solutions for. They provide, in addition to food and beverage and retail, they also help with beauty and salons, so you can do appointment scheduling. I have a whole other video on that if you're more interested in the appointment scheduling side of things. If you do run maybe a beauty salon, that's where Square definitely shines, is in that category for sure. And then you also have services or even larger based businesses as well. I'd say, the professional services side, Square maybe not necessarily is always the best, but it is something that they do cater to as well. Again, maybe if you do need appointment type scheduling and things like that as well. So they sort of have that third category in terms of their, restaurant, retail, as well as beauty. That's sort of a third category. Now, the biggest difference, I would say, between Clover and Square is how they process payments. So Clover, in terms of how they actually process your payments, you're able to build out a separate merchant account. It's a separate bank account that is processing those payments like a provider, through a provider such as Stripe could be your merchant account, for example, and then that connects with Clover. This can help you save a bit of money and save money in the long run on the processing of payments. Again, their rates are starting at as low as 2.3 plus 10. Now, again, this does depend on your business category in terms of the types of products you sell, depending on the category. So whether you're depending on the type of merchant category that you fall under, some fall under different categories depending on the industry that you're in, right? So if you're selling, certain types of products, you might get categorized differently. This is just the opening rate that they advertise to the public, to everybody. But I do want to make that disclaimer there. It might be different for you in your industry, and it might also be different depending on the total volume of sales that you do. That's something that both of these companies can work with you directly to help you maximize and save a bit money on the processing transactions. Not guaranteed that they might be able to give you a better rate if you contact them directly, again, depending on your total sales volume. With Square, in terms of their opening rates, again, it is a little bit more expensive in terms of their processing fees. As you can see here, it starts at 2.6 versus the 2.3. So that's one of the biggest differences here between Clover and Square, at least just looking at it from a bird's eye view or from an outsider's perspective. Again, it can depend on your business if you might be eligible for better rates. Again, it does vary as well if it's an in-person, online, manually entered, or invoice. Same thing goes generally with Clover as well, depending on how you're taking these payments and how you're actually processing these payments as well. Now, I'll say another thing in general is that Clover does cater more to those in-person based businesses, whereas Square can cater more to sort of everybody. They can more or less cater to a wider variety of types of businesses. Now, again, both companies have variety of different, flexible hardware. Not going to be getting too much into the specifics of the different hardware because it's relatively comparable in terms of the point of sale hardware. But Square does have more software solutions in terms of if you want to set up a website. If you want to set up, again, some of the other integrated solutions such as, email marketing or, things. One thing to consider, though, is a lot of these other software tools that Square does offer. Some of them are free, but some of them you do have to pay for. But it is something that's nice just because they are directly integrated in the platform, whereas Clover, not necessarily as many software solutions are available for your business that are directly integrated into the platform. Again, Clover really shines more specifically within those in-person based businesses. If you have retail tracking inventory, the point of sale hardware, again, if you're a restaurant or a retail store, that's where Clover definitely shines because that's really what they're completely focused on and completely dedicated to. Now, in terms of the actual pricing beyond, again, restaurants, retail, or the service-based businesses and the types of apps that they offer, another thing to consider as well is contracts, right? So in terms of the pricing structure with Clover is that they do have a monthly fee. In Square, depending on the plan that you go with. Now, again, this pricing is always subject to change. Make sure you check out these companies' pricing pages to get the most realistic and up-to-date pricing. Have to say that in every video because, believe me, things change, right? So, but by and large, the pricing structure, I feel like, probably won't change. But in general, Clover is a contract-based solution. That's sort of their overall business model and structure, and that's how they're able to get you that cheaper price from the get-go in terms of your processing fees because they lock you in a bit on a subscription. So in terms of a contract. Now, you can cancel and get out of it as well if you read through their FAQ section here. There are ways to sort of end that subscription early if you need to in your business, but that contract, they have as you can see here, are there termination fees? Contract terms and termination fees will depend based on your service provider. That's something to consider. Again, it does depend on the contract that you have set up, but Clover does have contracts. Square does not have contracts other than you just paying the monthly fee if you do have that. Otherwise, or you can go with their free version. It depends, again, on what you have added to your Square account. Certain things like payroll, those have monthly fees that you would also need to pay for. Same with some of the email marketing or text marketing, things like that. But the Square online store and point of sale, the actual usage of it is free. You're just going to be paying slightly higher processing rates on the back end. So that's something else to consider there. Of course, you have to pay for the hardware, either platform that you go with. If you're needing to purchase point of sale terminals, you're going to have to pay for that either way on Square or Clover. But in terms of that ongoing cost and the contract basis, that's sort of where there's a difference there in terms of the pricing structure and model between Clover and Square. Now, a lot of people generally stick with Square in the beginning when they're brand new because there's less upfront cost. And I get that. And that's why Square is very popular. And Clover's pretty popular as well. Again, if you're okay with locking yourself into that contract, if you know that you have enough sales volume to save money on those processing fees, because I know nobody wants to pay more processing fees than they need to. In addition to the processing structure in terms of how you're processing your payments, and this is something pretty important to keep in mind with Clover or with Square, is that Square is an all-in-one solution. And this is the thing that a lot of people have problems with Square as they begin to scale their business beyond just the sort of beginner stage that a lot of people are at. Again, if you're watching this video and you're a brand new beginner, Square is probably the better solution for you, but again, it will depend on the sales volume and trajectory that you're on, as well as how much control you want to have over the money that's coming in and out of your business, which I know a lot of people find that important, and it will depend on your business type. What I mean by that is that depending on, again, the total sales volume that you have, some people have complained about their money getting locked up with Square because it's all in Square, right? It's all within Square, and if there is any issue, you're sort of stuck in that one ecosystem with Square. Whereas with Clover, you have flexibility in that you have more control over your merchant account, which is ultimately where your payments are processed and where your money is sitting. So that's something else to consider as well. If you want the cheaper, overall monthly cost out the gate, then Square might be better for you as a beginner. And if you don't necessarily have the size and scale that makes sense for Clover, then maybe you just go with Square. But that's something else to consider, is just it's lower upfront cost for Square, but it might be more ongoing because of those fees, and depending on if your money ever gets locked up. That's something else to consider. It's not necessary that would happen to you. Not necessarily, you might not go through that, but it is something that people have mentioned that could happen with Square. Again, just because of that lack of full control. You have it sort of locked up within Square versus Clover. You have the merchant account and you have a little bit more flexibility there in terms of where your money is. That is the basis between the pricing differences of Clover. Buy and Square as well. By and large, again, it depends on the business type. Even if you take pricing out the gate, yes, you can get started for less money up front on Square, and that's why Square is a very popular solution. But if you do have plans to have maybe a complete store build out, if you're doing a restaurant, Clover might make a lot more sense for you, because if you know and you can anticipate you're going to have a certain amount of sales volume, maybe you're buying into a business or something like that, and you're looking to, maybe you're coming into a situation where Clover already exists and you're considering, depending on what your situation is, Clover might make more sense for you if you have a set trajectory and you plan on making enough sales where it might make more sense for you, and if you want that flexibility of the merchant account. That's, again, really the biggest difference there, as well as sort of the apps and the integrations as well, and the type of business that you're running. Again, Clover is more focused just for restaurants, retail, and certain service-based businesses. They don't necessarily have as many apps that are directly built by Clover. They're sort of like third-party app integrations and things like that. Certain apps are a la carte that are built through Clover that can be good for you, again, but I would say by and large, Square has a lot more app integrations in terms of the overall business software space. I'll tell you from my own experience, reviewing, comparing so many different business software solutions, Square has a ton of direct integrations with a wide variety of different software solutions. So depending on if you need certain other app integrations, Square typically has those built out, whereas Clover may not necessarily have those. So again, it depends on if you're running an online business or an in-person business. If you're, the type of business you're running. Hopefully this point of comparison here between Clover and Square has helped you out in some way. Again, looking at the pricing, pros and cons differences, each one kind of caters to a different type of business owner as to which might be better for you. Again, I would highly recommend maybe trying each of them out. Contact their sales teams. Again, there are links down below if you want to check out Clover or if you want to check out Square. If you want to get signed up with either of them, again, there are links at the top of the video description, some of which are affiliate links, which is a great way to help out and support the channel. If you guys found this comparison video helpful, again, Clover versus Square, then be sure to smash that like button, hit the subscribe button as well, and notification bell so you're notified whenever I upload a new video. Anyway, guys, that was all for today's video, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.